Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. For this week I'm going to be sharing some of the DIYs that I've done for the kitchen renovation. The first one is actually a curtain. If you remember from the previous renovation content that I shared, we did have a large window. We ended up making it shorter and just filling the bottom part of it, just so we could have, you know, cabinets going in front of it. But it doesn't have a curtain yet, and it's a very large window. Definitely need to cover it up. This is a linen-y fabric. It's a nice color and it's kind of lightweight. I'm thinking something like this, but I'm gonna look more if I can find something that has a very subtle pattern, maybe like super subtle stripes. This is another one. I really like the texture and it's really flowy, I guess. I'm not sure about the stripe. I kind of really like it, and then I kind of don't want it. I don't know. I think this is nice, but I also think a simple one would look better in the kitchen. Also, not for me, but how cute are these ones? I love these for curtains or maybe even pillows. If it were more of a navy blue, darker blue, I think it would look even nicer. They're so cute. This is a fabric that I ended up going with. These were just regular stripes, very subtle stripes, and after soaking the fabric, they ended up looking bubbly like that. I'm hoping they go away with ironing. I don't know, but I'm not gonna iron it right now because it's a linen and they just wrinkle really easily. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna work with it like that, sew the curtains, and then I can just iron it after it's all done, and hopefully the bubbles will go away. Yeah, and the reason I soaked it is because sometimes fabrics shrink after you wash them, so I wanted to soak it first to, you know where we're at and if there was any shrinking or anything like that. So I realized I didn't really share my inspo for the curtain, the style that I wanted to go with. This is basically what I wanted, something really simple, linen-y, lightweight sort of look. So I bought this fabric. This is about 140 centimeters wide, and I wanted 2 panels. So I just measured the height of my window, doubled that, added some for hemming and extras, and then added some more to make the top strings, the pieces at the top of the curtain. I don't know what they're called. So this is me measuring and cutting the piece, the extra piece that I wanted for the top strings. I cut about, I think, 25 centimeters, and that's all I needed. Then I marked and cut 5 centimeter strips because I wanted each string to be 3 centimeters wide. So I needed 3 centimeters and then 2 extra for hemming. Then I was just able to cut the rest of my fabric in 2 for my 2 panels. For the sides, because the fabric doesn't fray on sides, I just folded it once and I was able to just sew it. Super easy, nothing special needed here. When it comes to the strings, I put 2 on each other and just started sewing again. Like I said, I had 1 centimeter on each side. I realized later that I could have just used a wider piece of fabric and I would have one seam, which would have been easier and a cleaner look. But this is what I did, and here you can see me. I was trying to use a pin to turn it to the right side, but I couldn't figure out how it works, so I ended up just manually turning it, and it did take a long time, not gonna lie. Once I did that, I kind of forgot to film this little part, but just so I wouldn't have any unfinished edges, I just folded the edges of the strings, if that makes sense, towards the inside, and then did a stitch on top of that, just so I had a cleaner look. For the top of the curtain, I folded it twice. I already spaced out and just measured where I wanted my strings to be, and as you can see, for the first one, I'm not putting it, flush with the edge, and you'll see later why, but I only did this on one side, and I wanted, like I said, 10 strings. I spaced them about every 14 centimeter, and I spaced it in a way that the other string would be flush with the edge of the curtain. And the reason why I decided to hand stitch it is because I just wanted to make sure everything was in place and perfect, and this made it so much easier to then just use my sewing machine, do the stitch, and everything came out really clean and nice. Because the top was kind of just hanging and loose, I decided to add another stitch to the top, and it made the curtain look super clean. Then I moved on to the rod. I couldn't find the shade of gold that I wanted. Every gold curtain rod that I saw was either too shiny, too yellow, too green, I don't know. So I ended up just picking this silver one. I gave it a good sand so it would be easier to paint on. And then I started painting it with black acrylic paint. Now, if I had a spray paint, black spray paint, I would totally use that. It would have been so much easier, but I didn't, and I wanted to use whatever I had. And this black paint is basically just a base for the gold paint to go on. It's going to kind of act like a primer, and it's going to give my paint some depth and make it look a bit more antique-y. So I wasn't worried about how it looked, and as you can see, the second coat just made it look all super clean and nice. So I have these two shades of Robin Buff. This one is too yellow and this one is too orange. I was thinking maybe if I mixed the two, I would get the color that I wanted, which is sort of like a bronzy antique gold color. I tested it on this piece. This is the hardware for the curtain rod. I don't know why it's so ugly, but this is the only option they had. And I feel like the color kind of comes off a bit different than it actually is, but I like this color. I think it's looking, antique-y, bronzy. And I actually tested to see if doing a clear coat of a matte finishing spray would help, and the paint does not come off. I feel like it's gonna work, and since the pieces of the curtain that are gonna be touching the rod are just fabric, the curtain doesn't have any metal rings or metal parts or anything like that, I feel like it's gonna work, and I'm just gonna do this. And if it doesn't work out, if the paint comes off later on, I can just do something else, think of a better idea. So I just mixed my 2 shades of Rub and Buff. I really like the end result. At first I started painting my curtain rod with a brush, which I felt like it would take so long and it didn't give me a uniform look. So I just used the paper towel. It gave me a much better coverage and just a much more uniform and smooth look. Then I just gave it a clear coat of a matte finishing spray and it was done. Just installed the curtain, and the reason it's really wrinkled is because it's not really finished yet. I didn't hem the bottom because I just couldn't figure out the exact length. For some reason, decided to hang it, you know, like properly, and then measure it on the window, and then, you know, hem it again, and then iron it and everything. It looks really dark in here. I don't know why. It's not that dark. It does block out some light, obviously, but it's not really that dark. I'm just gonna now, you know, measure and mark where I need to hem the bottom, and that's just gonna be it for the curtain. Guys, it is going away. So this side I haven't ironed yet, and this side I just ironed, and you can see there's still like a tiny amount of like texture and bubbling going on. I don't mind that a little bit, and you can see the stripes better here. And yeah, this is how the fabric looks not ironed. I'm just gonna keep ironing the whole thing, and then our curtain will be done. So here's the curtain completed, and I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. And the reason why, I know when you have a large window in your kitchen, it's great and beautiful and you want all the light that you can get. But the reason why I went with a full curtain in this kitchen is that, well, first of all, we needed some privacy. And second, if you remember how our kitchen used to look, well, our front yard looks even worse than that. You can see a tiny bit of it, but the rest of it is just awful, and that's just not a view you want to see when you have a recently renovated beautiful kitchen. So I thought for now I could cover it all up with the curtain, and then later on when we do a makeover and make the front yard prettier, I can shorten the curtains and like have some sort of cafe curtain where it doesn't cover, you know, the whole window. It only covers the bottom half. You have your privacy, but you still have tons of light coming in. But for now it works. I love how flowy it looks. Overall, I'm really happy with it. Oh, and the reason I added that little piece, if you remember, is because as you can see, the curtain can't really touch the wall. So if I didn't add that little piece, I would have a gap here, and I didn't want that. So I added that little piece just so that, you know, the curtain could cover it all. And for the second DIY, I actually ordered this light. It was very affordable, but when it came, it just wasn't great. I mean, I didn't pay a lot for it, so you know, you get what you pay for, but yeah, I think I can do some DIYs to kind of make it better. So this is a pendant. I'm okay with the black on the outside. It's fine in my opinion, but the gold color on the inside is what I didn't like. It just looks really dull and kind of plasticky, I think. So I ended up just sanding it again just to get rid of some of the sheen and make it easier to paint. And as you can see, there was sort of like grain. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it's called, but I decided to just sand it sort of based on the grains that the pendant already had. And then I started just painting it with the black acrylic paint. Again, sort of in a circular motion, if that makes sense. Again, I wasn't really worried about having a full coverage. I just wanted a dark base to work with. After that was done, I mixed my two rub and buff shades again, and this time, because I didn't want to cover the whole thing, I actually used a brush, and again I'm going in the same direction and the same sort of motion. And like I said, I didn't want to cover the whole thing. I wanted some of the black to still show. At this point, I kind of felt like the blacks were a bit too harsh and it kind of looked a bit splotchy, I guess. So what I did was I would grab tiny amounts of the rub and buff, not too much, and brush it on top of the black areas, and it helped really soften the look of it. I think this is such an improvement. The color is a bit more, I would say, a little bit more orangey in person, just a little bit, not too much, but I think it actually came out really nicely. I love the way it looks. I ended up just leaving this piece. I have some paint on it. I'm gonna remove that, and I think this is done. Let me know which one you guys prefer. Do you prefer this look, kind of like aged, not so, you know, uniform look, or the all gold color? So I hope you enjoyed today's DIYs. If you did, please let me know down below which one was your favorite. And definitely come back next week. We're going to be working on some kitchen shelves, hopefully. So yeah, if you're interested in these types of content, then consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me a lot. Hope to see you again. Bye.